It was 1981 when Elvira came along, and that changed everything for us.
All right, we are in here with one of country music's greatest legends, Mr. William Lee Golden. Thank you for allowing us to come here to your house. It's a beautiful place, and sit down and have a conversation with you.
Well, welcome to our home, man. This home was built before Tennessee was a state, actually.
Wow.
It was built in 1786
Wow.
by a Revolutionary War Colonel, James Franklin. He fought with George Washington. He was one of the immortal 70 that turned the British back.
Wow.
And but he chose this spot. It was an outpost after the Revolutionary War, and anyhow, he was here at the outpost, and he fell in love with the property here on the creek, and he wanted to come back here after, and so he was given a section of land for his services in the Revolutionary War, which was 640 acres that he had here. And he moved here and wanted this property.
Wow. That's incredible.
So that was in 1786. It was 3 years before George Washington was president and 10 years before Tennessee was a state.
Wow.
So I found this place in 1980 and bought it. And it was empty at that time, but it had been kind of renovated. And but I lived here for 45 years now.
Yeah.
And survived a tornado that hit us back in about 18 years ago here. So it took the top off the place, and we took it back up to what it originally was.
Yeah. That's incredible. It's a really nice place. I had no idea the history behind it, but
Yeah.
that's cool. I'm going to be looking around after this. But I guess this year I've kind of been collecting oaks. I had Dwayne on back in February, and he told us a lot about the history of the Oak Ridge Boys, which is just so interesting to me, you know, how the Oak Ridge Boys started back in World War II and that whole story. But he told us that back in February, and I'm interested in your history, your musical history. How did you get started?
Well, it was simple, like a lot of people get started at home. My sister, she's 3 years older than me, 3.5 years older than me. She's real musical. She plays instruments. She plays mandolin, guitar, piano, still plays them. Anyhow, she taught me how to play guitar and sing harmonies. Her and my mother did when I was 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
I started learning to play guitar and sing harmonies. And that's kind of how it did. And we sang as a duet, kids singing as a duet around. We'd sing at church, at schools, and different things. And about once a week, we'd get to go over and sing a song on Granddaddy Golden's radio show. And we'd take our instruments. I still got my guitar that my dad bought me over here.
Wow.
It's a 1950 Gibson F-hole guitar, acoustic guitar.
Yes, sir.
That I played, and my sister has a mandolin, a matching F-hole mandolin that she has. And they're both the sunburst type instruments, but yeah, that's how I started, man. And then later on, our little brother joined us, and we had a trio. Then in high school, I sang in my first quartet. We had the FFA quartet, Future Farmers of America. Each school had a chapter, or most schools had a chapter, an FFA chapter. And they taught shop, different things they taught in FFA. But they also nurtured people's talent, kids' talent that were farmers growing up in farms, and we were able to have bands or singing groups. And our school had a singing group. They had actually had a singing group before I joined the group, and then I got old enough to be in a singing group in the FFA. But they would compete with other schools,
Yes, sir.
and but that's where I fell in love with four-part harmony singing, with the bass singer and all. And I've had a passion for that ever since, man. And after school, I would sing. I had a group that I put together, and some friends out of Pensacola, Florida. But I live in South Alabama, right on the Alabama and Florida state line. I grew up on a big farm, cotton and peanuts, soybeans and wheat. But my dad was a big farmer, and we farmed in South Alabama and Northwest Florida. My relatives, my dad's family, his brothers were all big farmers. So that's how I grew up on a farm.
Yes,
But singing was also important in our life. We played music and sang. When the work's done, you love getting your instruments out and playing. But after school, I kept singing and had a group of my own, and we would sing in these all-night singings. They would call them, I know, Bonifay, Florida. We used to go there once a year. They had a big all-night singing. It was a sundown till sunup singing. They'd start singing at sundown, and there'd be groups going all night. There'd be a dozen groups on down there. So that's how we did as a young guy. And I met the Oak Ridge Boys at those events, and got to know them, and would go see them when they would be playing around in our part of the country. But the Oak Ridge Boys recorded 2 albums on Warner Brothers Records in 1962 that turned me on to the Oak Ridge Boys more than anything else, and I became a big fan of. They were all young guys at that time. They had were in the group, and Wally Fowler to kind of help put them together, taking them when he was doing shows, is how they started, got together. But then Wally kind of quit playing them, and they all wanted to keep singing, and so they did keep singing, and changed the name from the Oak Ridge Quartet to the Oak Ridge Boys. They did the 2 Warner Brothers albums. And those were the albums that really turned me on to the Oak Ridge Boys. It was an album called Oak Ridge Boys with Sounds of Nashville. Then they had, it was during the folk era, it was Peter, Paul, and Mary was on radio, TV and all a lot. And they had an album called Folk-Minded Spirituals for Spiritual-Minded Folks. So it was those 2 albums they did for Warner Brothers, but those were the 2 that really turned me on to the group. And I pursued being a part of it because they had a member change, and I didn't think the new guy fit them as much as the guy did as Gary. Gary McSpadden was singing baritone with them at the time that I was really turned on to the group. And then he left and went with Jake Hess, and they formed the Imperials. And so the Oaks had hired a different guy to sing. I didn't think he quite fit like Gary did in the group, and I come up to Nashville, and I knew they were playing here one day, and I was watching their schedule. And I drove up to talk to Smitty Gatlin, who was lead singer at that time, and to talk to the group about my feelings for them, and if they ever decided to have another change, that I would like to try out for the position. And a couple of months later, Smitty called me and said, "Hey, man, we're in the market for a baritone singer. Are you still interested in trying out for the position?" I said, "Absolutely." So I drove to Nashville and tried out. I knew most all their songs anyway because I bought all their records and was listening to the music. And I got the gig. So they said, well, man, we'd like to have you sing with us. I said, great. When do we start? They said, this weekend. So I said, wow, okay. So I said, I got to go back home, repack my bags here. So I did. I went back to Bruton and went back to the farm and repacked and come back and joined up with them. And for about 6 months, I would travel back and forth, go back home every 2 or 3 weeks. And but was traveling with them. But it was about 6 months before I moved my family up here. I had 3 young kids, 3 little boys at that time. And Chris was 2 years old. Craig was 4 years old, and Rusty was 6 years old when I first joined the Oaks. Mm. And so I moved my family up here. But as the group kind of evolved, Smitty was singing, and about a year and a half later, he decided to take another position with a church that he had been offered out in Fort Worth, Texas. So he was leaving the group, and we got to know Dwayne Allen. He was singing with a different group at that time. And so we talked to him about coming with the Oak Ridge Boys to sing lead with us. And so he did, and that was a great asset to the Oak Ridge Boys. Dwayne's he's a major player in our group. He's always worked real hard at helping put the music side of our business together for us. Working with producers, working with publishing companies and songwriters, finding new songs, and he's done that now for 60 years. Dwayne's been here for 60 years now. And I joined in January of 1965, and Dwayne joined the next year in spring of 1966. And anyhow, man, that's where it all started with me. You ask how I started.
Yeah.
But that's how I started and how I actually got to be a part of the Oak Ridge Boys.
Yeah. Well, that's an incredible journey. And when y'all started, or when you started, and Dwayne, it was pretty strictly gospel, wasn't it?
It was a gospel group, yeah. We were singing gospel group, and it was in the all-night gospel singing circuits, basically. We'd tour with different singing groups, There was 2 or 3 main groups in that business at that time. The old school of gospel singers, it was the Statesmans and Blackwood Brothers were the 2 main touring acts back then. And then about the time that I joined the Oak Ridge Boys, the Happy Goodman family were coming on as a big group. And so we actually, Don Light, who had worked with Billboard magazine, was a writer there. Don decided to get into the gospel music business and start a new booking agent because gospel music did not have agents at that time. Somebody in the group would be basically booking the dates from their back pocket, so to speak. You kept a list of where your dates were and a little date book in your pocket. But the guys would book dates when they would play shows, you'd maybe book another date at that show. But Don Light changed the business from people doing it out of their pocket to actually having an office where an agent could book you dates rather than having to go through a singer that might be on the road and you don't know how to reach him at that day. That was back before cell phones, basically.
Yeah.
So people were harder to reach. Anyhow, we went with Don Light opened his talent agency. We were the first ones to sign with him to be an agent, and he signed the Oak Ridge Boys and the Happy Goodman family, two groups. Then he signed the Singing Rambos, Dottie Rambo, but I think he started with them, and then maybe the Chuck Wagon Gang. Don had signed. He had 4 acts, I think, in the beginning. Then he added some more, but that's where we were at before we met. For 9, I was like there for 8 years, I guess. I joined in '65. Then it was maybe 8 years later in '83. What was it? 63, 73. I'm sorry, get my numbers mixed up here, but yeah, it was 1973 that we met Jim Halsey at a showcase, a CBS showcase in Nashville. We had cut an album with Columbia Records, a couple of albums. Actually, George Ritchie was producing us on those albums. But Jim Halsey was the biggest country music manager in the business. I felt like that the Oak Ridge Boys needed to expand our music. I was booking a lot of dates myself at that time, helping promoters, and I was basically handling that side of the group, of our helping put our date books together, and talking and working with promoters. So we evolved into, we realized we had won some awards in '69 with an album we did called the Light Album. And we used our own band. We went to California and cut that album using our own band. And Tony Brown was playing in our band at that time. He was playing piano with the Oak Ridge Boys.
Yes, sir.
Tony, John Rich was playing guitar and steel guitar. Mark Ellerby was our drummer. He had majored in music in college. And John Breland he was a young kid that was playing bass with us. But that album won a lot of awards that year, the one we did with our band. And, Tony is a little while, we had hired Richard from Elvis. I called Richard and talked him into coming with the Oak Ridge Boys from Elvis. Well, Elvis didn't want to lose Richard, but Richard needed to, he was kind of the backup bass singer for J.D. Sumner, is what he was. And anyhow, a year and a half later, Elvis called and hired Tony Brown from us to play piano with him. But then after Elvis passed, well, Tony became one of the hottest record producers in Nashville.
Yeah.
He's cut more hit records, #1 records, than any other producer in the history of Nashville recording.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And but he played with us. One of the first groups that he played with the Oak Ridge Boys.
Wow.
And Elvis hired him from us to go with him.
Sounds like y'all and Elvis was doing a lot of horse trading back in the days.
Yeah. But I was glad that I talked Richard into coming with the Oaks, and he was too after a year or two, a couple of years, whatever. Because then when Elvis passed away, he realized if he'd have stayed there that he'd have been at a dead-end street by then.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it all started with us and how we did evolve from. I realized that we were at the top of gospel music, winning the awards and all, but we still were. It's a small business. It was at that time.
Yeah.
gospel music is, as far as being able to book dates and sell tickets and sell records. It's a smaller business than country music was. So I felt like that the Oak Ridge Boys should be singing songs about 7 days a week rather than one day a week.
Mm.
Because a lot of times people only want to hear gospel songs on Sunday. They're not interested in hearing it the other 6 days of the week. They're living their lives. And we're singers. We're professional singers. We're trying to make a living singing. So I felt like that if we're honest with ourselves, we should sing songs about 6, 7 days a week rather than one day a week.
Yeah.
And kind of sing songs that people live in their lives.
Right.
Songs about life and about love. You know, love is a bottom line for everything anyway, whether it's gospel or country. Gospel music is talking about love,
Yeah.
and country music's talking about love.
Yeah.
So love is what's important, and saying love in different ways is that's where the songwriters come in. And but anyhow, man, we went with Jim Halsey, who was the biggest manager and agent in country music.
Mm.
He was managing Roy Clark, Mel Tillis, Jody. Anyhow, Wanda Jackson and those type people that he managed throughout their careers. But Halsey had an L.A. office. He was serious about taking country music to network television, which he was the pioneer of doing that. Really, he's still the guy that put network television and country music together was Jim Halsey. Because Nashville could not book country music on network television. Jim Halsey hired one of the best TV guys in L.A. to run his L.A. office, a guy come out of television agent. Dick Howard was running his L.A. office. He was close friends with Cordovan, the guy that was a producer of the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. But Halsey and his company, Dick Howard in L.A., was able to get the Oak Ridge Boys on the Tonight Show when we had our first country album. Halsey's the one that did the negotiation to get us with ABC Records at that time for a country album. And I guess after we signed with them, then MCA bought up ABC Records. So we were not with ABC very long before it became MCA. And we had several albums for 10 or 12 years there with MCA Records. But that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. Well, when y'all did make that transition into country music, did y'all have any pushback from the people or anything?
Well, maybe a little bit from the gospel old school people, you know, but to be honest with you, back in that time period, the Oak Ridge Boys was getting pushed back for being a little too modern, a little too. We had worked with Johnny Cash back up in Vegas and those type places, and so sometimes there was a certain element of gospel music that found fault with all of that. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a lot of people find fault with any and everything you do,
Right.
but I found out you got to be true to yourself, whoever you are, rather than what someone else thinks you should be.
Yes, sir.
That's what we all have as our own prerogative. We got one life to live, and it's how we live it, rather than allow someone else to force us to live a way that we don't feel comfortable with.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, something I hadn't addressed yet is you have the most iconic beard in all of music, not just country music or gospel music. I'd say all of music. You're right up there with maybe Billy Gibbons and those guys. How did you kind of foster that look, or was it just something that you just wanted to grow a beard and it just kind of developed?
Well, it was kind of a time period. It was in 1980. It's when I first bought this old place, actually. It was right after I bought this old place. I've got friends that David Wright's a good friend, lives up here in Gallatin, but at that time I admired his artwork. He's an artist. He paints frontier type subjects, paintings, mountain men, and that type stuff. But he had some paintings that I admired. They were mountain man paintings that he did, and so I got to know David and went camping, primitive camping with him, where you go out and you start your fires with a flint and steel and stuff like that. But
Yes, sir.
real primitive camping and going into the wilderness and spending a weekend or something. But these guys go in, spend several days, but it's you're surviving out there. But I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed getting away from the fast lane of the music business and going out in the wilderness and camping for 3 or 4 days, But some of my friends I had this stubbly beard, that shadow beard, one that looks like a 5 or 6 day growth, and I had little clippers that I could keep at a certain length. These guys I'd be camping with, a couple of them woolly-looking guys, they said, "Hey, man, won't that beard ever grow?" So I said, "I don't know." And but I kind of thought about it, and one day I just lost my razor, and I decided to kind of see what happens. And I let it go, man. I let it go wild. I haven't trimmed it since 1980.
Wow.
So it don't get any longer, it just gets whiter. But it took about 3 years to get that length.
Yeah.
I remember the first year I was growing it, I'd sometimes get up in the middle of the night, walk in the bathroom and flip on the light and see myself I'd startle myself, man, and seeing myself in the mirror. I'd startle myself a few times before I kind of got accustomed to what I was looking like.
Well, it certainly has become a iconic look. I think when people think of the Oak Ridge Boys, the first thing they think of is the long beard and hair.
Yeah.
What
Well,
did the other Oaks think about it? Did they try to grow their beards out too?
No, they didn't. In fact, in the beginning, they didn't like it at all, really. In fact, they wrote a letter to me one time, kind of telling me that they didn't like it either. So, but I say you can have your own opinion. It's not my opinion, but you're certainly welcome to share your opinion.
Yeah.
But it certainly didn't change my opinion, so I kept it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like what you said a second ago about just being true to yourself. And it's a good thing you was, because it's one of the most iconic looks in all of country music for sure.
Well, at the time I let it go, at that time country music was, and this is 1980. And if you'll remember back, you may not be, you can't remember it, I'm sure, because you're not that old. But I remember back in 1979, disco music, the Bee Gees and the disco era was peaked out in 1999. I mean, 1979. In 1980, like the beginning, it was like from the end of the year, New Year's Eve, and then a New Year, man, and Urban Cowboy came out.
Mm-hmm.
It completely changed the whole music scene and everything else, basically. And then you had the Willie and Waylon and the Outlaw movement come along. Well, these guys were basically old rock and rollers, look like, these woolly, long hair. Country music became more appealing to a younger crowd. when Willie and Waylon and all them started. Well, the door was open we were just getting in country music. You know, we had a few records at that time, but it was 1981 when Elvira came along, and that changed everything for us, the
Yeah.
Oak Ridge Boys. We never had a song before or since that impacted people like that song. And I remember the first time that we performed that song live. We didn't know what it would do, but it was on a new album we had just cut. Ron Chancey was producing us at that time, and we had cut an album. Ron got us to sing that song on an album. He's one of the writers over at Peer Publishing, or Tree Publishing, I believe. Had heard a band in Texas singing Elvira with a good feel to it. And he had come back and told Ron, said, man, the Oaks could do that song, man. That'd be a good one for the Oak Ridge Boys. So Ron put it there, and he wanted Joe to sing the lead part, the high part, be a lead. Then he wanted Richard to do the step-out lines of the Papa, Mau, Mau. And that set the song apart from any other recording that had been of Elvira.
Right.
Elvira was 16 years old when we recorded it.
Oh, wow.
Dallas Fraser had it on his album. He had a single of it when it was released, when he wrote it 16 years before we cut it. Charlie Rich had it on a Behind Closed Doors album. Kenny Rogers in the first edition had Elvira on the Something's Burning album, I believe. But it had been cut by different people. I think Rodney Crowell may have had a song. He cut it too. But different people had cut the song, but they all cut it straight through as one singer singing the whole thing.
Right.
The Oak Ridge Boys made a group song out of it. It kind of brought back a feel that, again, before your time, but I remember when group singing was big in pop music.
Yes, sir.
You know, they had the Coasters and the Drifters and all these groups, you know, what was it? But they had these bass singers in groups. And I remember the Coasters, what was it? They had this yakety yak, don't talk back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And with these step-out lines with bass singers. That had been big in pop music, but had never been big in country music.
Right.
There wasn't really any groups in country music other than the Statler Brothers when we come into country. And now then, there are no other four-part harmony groups out there that I know of that's really serious about being a four-part harmony.
Yeah.
We're the only guys on the block right now as far as four-part harmony singing in country music.
Right.
So there's a few trios out there, and it was always trios, but never four-part harmonies with bass singers. And but we've had a good run at it, man, and still running with it.
Yeah. Well, we just talked about Elvira, and you've had so many great songs. Leaving Louisiana in the Broad Daylight's one of my favorite songs of all time. What is your favorite song, or a couple of your favorite songs to perform with the group?
Well, you're talking about Leaving Louisiana in the Broad Daylight. That's a great one, man. That's always fun to sing. I cut a couple of Sonny Throckmorton songs, actually 3 of them, Sonny's songs. One was Trying to Love Two Women is Like a Ball and Chain. At the time I cut it, that was kind of my life story.
Oh, yeah?
You can read about it in here, but there's a chapter in there called Trying to Love Two Women. But my first wife, she talked about some things that I was not going to get into in my book about my unfaithfulness.
Mm-hmm.
But she wanted to, and so I can't deny that.
Yeah.
So I told Scott he can talk to anybody that we talk about, or anybody that knows me, you're welcome to talk to anybody about what we talk about. And so he did. He talked to all the Oak Ridge Boys. But he talked to two of my wives. He talked to my first wife, and he talked to my fourth wife. So traveling 200 days a year sometimes can be rough on relationships if you're not completely strong in your relationship and you keep it strong. And if you're weak, like some of us, that so there's always a price to pay when you're unfaithful and trying to love two women.
Yeah.
I've been down that road, and I was slow to learn.
Yeah. Well, that's another one of my favorite Oak Ridge Boys songs, but I do want to show the book that we're talking about, Behind the Beard, which is just the perfect title for your autobiography. And you wrote it with Scott England. You talked a little bit about him, but you wanted to tell us a little bit more about how he went about helping you write it?
Scott England had hit me up 3 or 4 times about writing a book, helping me write an autobiography. Well, since I'm not really a writer, I was thinking that I was going to have to sit down and maybe write all this. So I just said, well, I don't know. Not sure if anybody would be interested in what I've done or have to say. But it was during the pandemic he reached out again. And I said, sure, man. At that time, I was down on the farm down in South Alabama, back at our home place. And I was there for about a week or so. And I said, man, you're welcome to come down to the farm if you want to write, if you want to help me write a book. He said, but come down here and you'll see where it all started for me. I'd like for you to see where it began if you're interested. He come down with his wife the next day, and we started talking. I got him to meet my sister that played a big part in my musical development at a real young age, and 6 and 7 years old, her teaching me music. And anyhow, I find that in life you continue to learn, just because you get out of school. Some people think that they know it then, but actually your education is just beginning. I find that you never get too old to learn something new.
Yeah.
I'm still learning things new every day that I keep my mind open.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, in a 60-plus year career that you've had, you've got to work with, I know, probably just about everybody. But who were some of the favorite people, some legends that you've got to work with over the years that were just fun to work with?
Well, wow, there's a bunch of them. But we have been fortunate. We've been fortunate to have people like Ray Charles want us to sing on something together with them.
Wow.
We, in our early years, Paul Simon got the Oak Ridge Boys to come to New York twice to record a song with him, Slip Sliding Away.
Wow.
And he didn't like the first track on Slip Sliding Away that we did to him. So he went back. He'd cut the track in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And then got us to come to New York to put our vocals on it. Something about the feel of the track he didn't like, that he recut that track and then got us to come back and put our vocals on again. So working with people like Paul Simon and Ray Charles, and we did things with Kenny Rogers and George Jones. We did a song with George Jones, Same Old Me, Loving the Same Old You. And anyhow, things like that, we've been fortunate to sing for several presidents at different events through the years.
Yeah. And some cool TV appearances too. Y'all was on the Dukes of Hazzard a couple of times. I know.
Yeah,
How was that?
man, that was a trip. That's back when the Dukes they were the hottest thing out there at that time, the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
And again, Jim Halsey was the guy that was able to get us in as a guest on there, him and Dick Howard on the Dukes of Hazzard. And but going to L.A. and doing that show, man, I get chills here talking about it.
I could imagine.
Because you go back and all those people, some of them are not here anymore. But
Right.
it was still the things that hair standing up on my arm just thinking about it here and talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we definitely have to talk about the Goldens and how you came to form that group.
Back in 1987, when my singing partners voted me out of the group, I got together with my kids, and we started playing and singing, making music together. They were recording stuff on their own too. But we played and made music together and did shows together for the time I was away from the Oaks there for a while, for 6 or 7 years. Then Halsey told him, said, if you want to get back in the mainstream, you're going to have to get Golden back in the group. And so they come out and talk to me. Come right here. Joe came out first, and Richard came out, and then Dwayne came out, and invited me back to be a part of the Oak Ridge Boys. So I did, but then it was during the pandemic that we were all sent home. They told us, you're unessential, go home and lock your doors, put on 2 masks. If anybody knocks on your door, crawl under the bed. And so I watched all this negative hate on television news for about 2 or 3 weeks after the pandemic started, and I wondered what on earth's going on. Everybody hating everybody. And with all that hate on TV, I got to thinking after 2 or 3 weeks, man, something's evil going on here. And if I allow this into my home, it's my fault. I turned the TV off and refused to watch television news for probably a year or so. I got away from it, called my kids together here, told them to come on out. We can't go to church this Sunday, but come on, let's sing some songs at the house. We started singing we brought their instruments. We started singing old gospel songs right here in this room. And those old songs evolved over into old country songs that inspired me by writers that were essential to inspiring us.
Right.
Singers that inspired us to want to do what we were doing. The people that in the music business that had been huge influences on our life and inspiring us. So I went back and cut these songs that I'd always loved, that people sang, great songs in country music. And then we started going to the studio up here at Ben Isaac Studio, just right up the end of the road here. And we started recording all this stuff. We cut 13 old gospel songs. I took them back to where the songs started with me, back to songs that my sister and my mother taught me when I was real little. We went back to there and started singing these old gospel songs. And then from there, we went into these old classic country songs. And then I got my kids to sing songs that inspired them growing up. And we wound up doing 34 songs, 3 albums, a country rock album featuring my kids and grandkids. And so after we cut all them songs, we actually had one of my very best friends in L.A., Jeff Panzer. He's a television producer and a video producer. I've known Jeff since 1981, 1980, 81, I guess. He come here with a friend who was a PR lady. For ABC, he was doing a shoot. Jeff was a producer of ABC 2020. He was the youngest producer in the networks at that time. He was a kid out of college, and he come here. He was doing a 2020 piece on Alabama, the band. He come here that night and hung out. Had a teepee out back. We went and sat around the fire, but I had a party going on here. A bunch of people, music industry people. We were having a get together here, and so we went outside and sat out teepee around a campfire out there and talked for a while. Kind of got to know each other. He wanted me to come with him to go do an Alabama piece, and so I did, and we stayed friends, man. And the next year he did a piece on the Oak Ridge Boys for ABC 2020. He did a 20-minute piece on us. That was when Elvira was hit. So we were on a run right then ourselves, and but we stayed close friends throughout all them years, man, and still been a close friend. In fact, he called this morning here, and I was showering, so I'll have to call him later. But, anyhow, he come in and did set up cameras and videoed everything we did in the studio recording songs. Then we come out here in different places around the property. We started doing videos of those songs. It was still a pandemic going on, basically. So Jeff, he got into, when he left ABC 2020, he went to LA and he went out there to do VH1 TV. He was the head of the VH1 department in LA. Then he wanted to get in more into the music side, creative side of music. He always loved music. And he was doing music pieces for ABC 2020. He did the Grateful Dead, Simon and Garfunkel, several other pop acts. But he did Alabama and the Oak Ridge Boys and country. So he loved doing music pieces. He wasn't so into the investigative side of bad sides of people and stuff. Anyhow, man, he stayed in the music industry. He went to work with Universal Music in LA and became over their entire video departments. He did all of Vanilla Ice's videos, music videos. He did Wilson Phillips videos. He did Duran's first videos.
Oh, wow.
Then he did, after he got with them, with Universal, he did all of Nelly's videos. Still, all the Nelly videos, some of them are a billion views.
Wow.
He did all of Lil Wayne's videos. He did Nicki Minaj's first 2 album videos.
Wow.
He did Drake's first album videos. So he did all of the Golden's recording videos and songs. After we recorded it, we decided to put music videos to several of those songs.
That's awesome.
And but he captured everything we did in the studio.
Yeah.
And used that a lot with doing music videos. So that's how we got together as a family, was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
When we'd all been sent home and told we were all unessential. So we got to thinking about who was essential in inspiring us to follow music.
Yeah.
Music has a healing power. healing mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And we have certainly found it as the Oak Ridge Boys in the past year or two,
Yes, sir.
how important music is in healing us and the losses that we've had.
Yes, sir.
So it's something that you can't imagine life being without music, really. And so when the pandemic come and we're shut away from music, we're told you're unessential, so go home, you can't sing. You can't do that. You can't go home and shut it all off, man. It's
Right.
because those songs keep boiling inside of you. I'd sit out under these trees out back here, and all them old songs kept going through my mind, one after another one. And that's when I realized that I want the family together and us record all this. We need to document what brought us here, what inspired us to want to be in business. Let's
Right.
go back and visit that music.
Yeah. Grayson asked if you'd mind telling the story behind Y'all Come Back Saloon.
That album, that was our first album, Country. The Y'all Come Back Saloon was, what was it, Sharon Vaughn, I think, wrote that song. It was our first country single. It was the title of our first album with country music. And they wanted to put that title because of where we were coming from. It was to basically say that Oak Ridge Boys are recording a country song.
Yeah.
You know, we're recording country music. This album is country music. So it was kind of helping to have a new direction with our group. When we released the first song off of the Y'all Come Back Saloon album, we released the title of the album, the Y'all Come Back Saloon. That song went right up the charts, and it got to number 2. The song that would not get off of number 1 was a duet song that the Kendalls had. It was their first big record. Heaven is Just a Sin Away kept the Oak Ridge Boys, Y'all Come Back Saloon, from ever making number 1. So it was a number 2 song, and then we released One in a Million, I think. But then the third song we released off that first album was I'll Be True to You.
Yeah.
And that's the first song that went number 1 with the Oak Ridge Boys.
That's a great song. I asked Dwayne this, and I want to ask you this. That going all the way back to the Georgia Clodhoppers, the Oak Ridge Boys have been around since World War II.
Yeah.
Where do you see the Oak Ridge Boys going in the future?
Well, it's a good question. What I see is none of us started this group.
Mm-hmm.
We were all fans of the Oak Ridge Boys.
Mm-hmm.
I was, Dwayne was, I know Richard was, and Joe was. They were a fan of the group that Dwayne and I was in, because we were together, 8 years or so, 9, what was it? I joined 65. Richard joined us in 72. And Joe then joined us the following year in 73. But that combination was together for, Joe was here, celebrated 50 years just before he had to get off the road. I mean, he had just celebrated 50-year anniversary a month or so before he had to quit singing, just before he passed. But 6 months before he passed, actually, he had to get off the road.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But your question was where I see the Oaks going. Man, losing Joe was a heart-wrenching thing to watch that struggle that he went through with ALS before he had to quit. Joe was having to be helped on stage and off by two people to get him on and sit on a stool, to balance him on a stool. It was heart-wrenching to watch every night. And you're so helpless in your feelings. And it was a thing that seemed like the agents were trying to get us to do a farewell tour. And Joe kind of wasn't sure about it, but we only did just a handful of dates with Joe. But it was basically Joe was having to say farewell, and we knew that.
Mm.
And it was something that none of us want to do, is to quit singing. Somehow, it's like Keith Richards said. Someone asked him, "Hey, when's the Rolling Stones gonna retire?" He said, "Retire? That'd be like a death sentence." And it's for people that play music and sing 150 days a year. When you pull that away, man, you don't. It's like all the years that we've done that, you feel lost. There's nothing to do. You feel helpless.
Right.
So it's getting back together and starting to sing. God works in mysterious ways. It seemed like at the darkest of the night, with Joe struggling, and us being helpless in that, him being helpless. It's a heart-wrenching thing to deal with. But it seemed like in the darkest of the nights, God shined a new light in our direction. And this young kid, Ben James, come into our group. We had met him and went on stage with him. He had come on stage and sang. Joe handed the mic one night in Wheeling, West Virginia, when Daly and Vincent was on the show with us. And Ben James comes out of bluegrass music. He's a great little bluegrass singer. But has an incredible talent voice. But Joe handed him the mic in Wheeling, said, "Take the second verse on Elvira." Well, he took it, man, and we backed up and said, "Wow, that kid, he can really sing." But he come to us and said, "I've been a fan all my life," said, "I know all of your songs. I'd love to help out." And said, "I know all of Joe's songs." Told Joe, "I'm here to help you, man, if you need any help." Joe wanted to do it himself. And so it was when he was struggling the most, Joe was. Ben come with us to Branson one weekend. We had 2 shows out there. And come with us and kind of sit in playing guitar with the band back there and watching and listening. But it was just a few days later that we had to call him, and because Joe couldn't go any further, and we had dates booked. So Ben come in without a rehearsal, went with us to do the concert date we had booked. He never missed a lick, man, never missed a word without any rehearsal. And we still haven't really, the only rehearsals we have are putting new songs in the show. And we do that with the band usually in the afternoon at a sound check. But Ben come into our group and he's added a whole new energy and feeling and singing. Tony Brown heard Ben James sing here, and he told him after hearing him sing, he was in this room actually, he said, "Man," he said, "I've not heard a voice like that in 35 years other than one guy." He said, "You've got that high, lonesome sound like a Vince Gill." He said, "You're a brand new generation with a Vince Gill voice, and I've not heard that high, lonesome sound in anyone else other than Vince Gill."
Wow.
And but again, Vince came out of bluegrass. Ben James come out of bluegrass. But they have a feeling, and it's that high, lonesome sound that like Bill Monroe had that
Yeah.
haunting sound.
Yeah.
It's a lonesome sound up there.
Yeah. So with Ben replacing Joe, is it your hope that in the future there's kind of a new generation of Oak Ridge Boys and the torch carries on?
Well, in reality, Richard Sturban, our bass singer, has been struggling recently. He's been dealing with some health issues that's serious. And we've been taking another young bass singer out with us. We've been taking two different bass singers out. Tim Duncan has been out with us several times, and Aaron Lee McCoon has been out with us several times. They're both young guy, new generation of bass singers, and they're both as good as you can find anywhere. They're two of the best young bass singers anywhere I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So they're a new generation of incredible bass singers that's there. Aaron Lee travels with Daly and Vincent now, but we knew him back when he was singing on a couple of gospel groups. And Tim Duncan was also singing with Ernie Hoss and Signature Sound. He was their bass singer, but he sang in a couple of gospel groups prior to that. But they've both been going out with us, so we've got two young guys here. Dwayne and I do as our bookend, so to speak.
Yeah.
And man, it's just been healing to be together on stage and singing together again.
Yeah.
With the group and with these young guys, they bring a brand new energy into our group. And for Dwayne and I, it's been real uplifting to us, uplifting in spirit and your heart and everything else. It's been healing.
Yeah. Well, before we close it out, I have one more question for you. I know over the years of your career and being out on the road with the Oak Ridge Boys, you're bound to have a good story or two. So what's one of your favorite stories to tell about being with the Oak Ridge Boys?
There's 1,000 of them. But, there's a thing that, I don't know, man, there's a lot of fun things that happen, and then sometimes you never know one thing or another. And I was thinking the other day, and this is not really a story about something that we did together as a group, because there's a lot of crazy stuff we do, having fun and all. But a story about how sometimes fans that are close to you and their families that are close to you, that certain things that mean certain things. There was a lady came up to us one night on the road, and this has been 12 years ago, maybe. I don't know. I've got this thing back there. But she handed us a little thing and told us that, I want y'all to take this. It was a little container with some of her father's ashes. They had split up his ashes. He was a big fan of the Oak Ridge Boys. She wanted us to take part of him with us because he loved us so much. And man, I kept that thing on the bus in a drawer that I had. But I took that guy with us for 12 or 14 years, maybe.
Wow.
Until we got rid of that bus. And when Joe passed, we had to kind of shut down the offices and turned our buses back into the lease companies. Well, I got the stuff that was in my drawer off the bus, and then I'm reminded I still have this. I've still got it here, and now I don't know how to reach the family to tell them that he's been on tour with us, but that I have what remains as part of his ashes here.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that's not a story about something that we did together, but it's certainly something that we'd never had happen before or since.
Yeah. I'm sure that was a dying wish of his that got fulfilled. So that's pretty incredible. But I do want to say again, the book Behind the Beard. I can't wait to dive into this, and I know a lot of the people who listen are gonna go out and order it and read it and hear some more of these great stories. But I just appreciate you again for sitting down with me and telling us some of these stories and your story and this incredible house that you live in. And just thank you for doing this with us.
Well, man, it's any time, and I just want you to know that you're always welcome here. And if we need to, I appreciate you letting me be on your show here today, too, man. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate that. And y'all be sure to keep up with the Oak Ridge Boys. I'm sure oakridgeboys.com, they can keep up with the tours and where they can catch y'all. I've seen y'all. I was fortunate enough a couple of times at the Opry. I've just went and sat on that bench on the stage and watched y'all. And it's always such a fun show. Dwayne told me when he was on that if y'all ain't tired when y'all get off the stage, y'all didn't give it y'all's all, and y'all definitely give it y'all's all at every show. So be sure to go check out the Oak Ridge Boys, keep up with their tour dates on there, and get this book. And we thank you.
Yeah, man, it's got over 200 photographs in it.
Wow.
You can go to Amazon and order William Lee Golden book.
Yeah.
And, yes, goes way back, man, back to my early beginnings. It's got pictures of the Oak Ridge Boys, 50 years of them. Got pictures of all me and my different wives. There's more stuff in there than I was expecting to get in that book.
Different beard lengths in the
Different
picture.
beard
Watch
lengths.
the beard grow.
I was a clean-cut guy at one time. But that's where it all started.
Oh, wow. Wow. I can't wait to dig into it and hear the stories and look at all the pictures. But again,
I made more than my share of mistakes, too. So I'll go ahead and say that out front.
well, I think we all have. And I think that's always good in a book anyway. You know, when you read it, and it seems like when it was written, there wasn't nothing to hide. You know, you get the raw, you get the real deal, and it sounds like what I'm going to get in this book. So I'm excited for that.
Well, if you get a chance to read it, you're welcome to mention it, any parts of it you want to.
Oh, I absolutely will. What we'll have to do, I'll have to read it, and then
We'll get back together.
we'll get back together and talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, there's some stories in there too. So
Yes, sir. Well, I sure appreciate it again, and if you ever need anything from me, you know how to get a hold of me, and I just appreciate you.
Dylan, you've been a joy to talk to, man.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the questions, man. I don't have any. There's nothing to hide here.
Yes, sir.
So I'm open for whatever you want to talk about.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate that. So we'll definitely have to do it again after I read the book, and thank you for all you've done for country music, and thank you for being here with us.
Well, we're still. I'm happy that we're still playing and singing. And again, my singing partner, Dwayne Allen, there, we've been together for 60 years now.
Yes, sir.
And he's a great lead singer, has been for 60 years and still is. He also plays a major part in our music, in our songs. He works hand in hand with the record producers. He's always looking for new material. He helps us with our harmonies. He's one of the great partners that anyone could ever have in life. And so I'm thankful that Dwayne and I
Yes, sir.
have had this ride together.
Yes, sir. I love Dwayne. It was a joy having him on. I'm sure I'll have him on again. He's just a plethora of history. He really enjoyed digging into the Oak Ridge Boys history and telling it, which I was happy. It's so interesting. Maybe next time we do it, I'll have both of y'all together. That'd be a lot of fun.
Let's do that.
But I appreciate it, and until next time, thank you.
All right, Dylan.